Okay, well, welcome to the May 4th Web Council. I guess I should say May the 4th be with you, even though I am not a fan of the prequels. So uh, I did like the later set of movies. Okay, so, but that was a big part of my childhood in the 80s. So anyway, but hope you all have had a chance this week to get out and enjoy the nice weather and all the things in bloom. And we'll get started as usual with Thom Thorpe, who's going to give us the word on the street. So Thom, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see everyone here. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And welcome to May's Web Council. And we have a great program for you today. We're going to begin, as we always do, with our land acknowledgement. The University of Washington acknowledges the Coast Salish peoples of this land, the land which touches the shared waters of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot nations. I also acknowledge and honor the tribal nations across Washington state and the many indigenous peoples from across the country who live and work in Seattle and the surrounding areas. And we have a great agenda for you today. We have our friends from UW News here to share with you a wonderful website that they have called For Washington. I think you'll really enjoy learning how that comes together and produces some really great stories about UW's impact across the state. So looking forward to that. But before that, we'll just run through a few things going on around our communities. Drupal, our friends at the Drupal Community Practice will meet today at 10, and we'll get that link in chat for you so you can join along. Will from UW Med will be by to talk about the work he's doing customizing the CK editor. So I think that'll be a great presentation for those of you who are in Drupal 9 or considering Drupal 10 to learn a little bit more about that. And then just my usual plug for our monthly accessibility and usability meetup with our friend Hadi. Those are the second Thursdays at 10 a.m. and it's on Zoom there. And of course, you'll get notified through the Web Council mailing list of that as well. A few jobs opened up across the UW. Just a note that we do see a downturn in positions this time of year, usually with the close of the academic and fiscal years, but things will pick back up as the summer comes to a close and we start the next academic year. But a couple of open positions there. Just as a reminder, if you go to uw.edu/jobs, click search for jobs, you can take that 6-digit number at the end and search for the requisition number. It'll take you right there. Please feel free to share these with your network. We love getting referrals from folks and just everyone knows how great it is to work here. So some great positions for folks who'd love to be with us. A couple of Seattle area meetups. Content Strategy Seattle has a program on May 10th about gaining influence on your teams. That'll be virtual. New Tech Seattle has 2 programs this month. Their usual monthly meetup, which will be on Thursday the 11th. And then they are continuing their series on ADHD on the 16th, which will be a virtual session. The Seattle Technical Forum will be having their Trends in Data Architecture. It is a full-day conference, Friday, May 19th over in Bellevue. More information is on their meetup page if you are interested in attending that. OWASP is having their AppSec days down in Portland in June. And again, more information is on their meetup page for that as well. And the UX Book Club will be having a picnic at St. Edward's Park over in Kenmore, where they're going to be discussing Not Enough Research by Erica Hall. So great opportunity to network with some folks. And just my usual plug for our area Drupal, WordPress, and JavaScript meetups. Lots of great opportunities to meet with folks from across the region, find out what folks are doing beyond UW, and share what we're doing here as well. A few conferences, we'll go quickly through these. Not much has changed since the last time you saw this list, but the Digital Marketing Conference is coming up next week here in Seattle. Stanford WebCamp is back on down in Stanford next week as well. UX DX will be both virtual and in New York, the 16th through the 18th. There are the 2 social media strategy summit. The first one, which may be of more interest to us, or specifically geared towards public agencies, will be in mid-May, and that'll be virtual. GeekWire Awards will be on the 18th here in Seattle. This one is new. I don't think I had this in last time. For those of you who follow along with Gartner and use their research, their marketing symposium / expo trademark will be at the end of the month in Aurora, Colorado. So more information at their link there. The Smashing Conference San Francisco is happening at the end of the month as well. DrupalCon, which I know is a favorite for a lot of folks, June 5th through the 8th in Pittsburgh. And I also wanted to flag that if anyone from Web Council will be going to that and would love to come back and give us a rundown on how it went, we would absolutely love to have that presentation. So feel free to reach out to me or Jeff, let us know, and we would love to welcome you and your thoughts on how DrupalCon went this year. And then this is the second social media strategy summit that I was alluding to. This is general, open to everyone. The 13th through the 16th, also virtual this year. Product Marketing Summit here in Seattle in June, and Marketing Analytics Summit as well in June, but in Las Vegas. And then a couple of case conferences for you. The annual conference on marketing and branding, which I know a couple folks from UMAC will be going to end of June here in Seattle. WP Campus, also another favorite in New Orleans, the 12th and 13th of July. Again, if anyone from Web Council is going and would like to give a presentation on that, we would certainly love to welcome you and hear how that conference was. EduWeb Summit in DC, also in July. Microsoft Inspire, which will be back in person in Seattle, 18th and 19th of July. And then this is another case conference, the Summer Institute on Communications and Marketing, which will be in Madison at the end of July. I'm not sure if anyone from UMAC is going to that, but if they are, we might ask them to swing by and let us know how that went. And then finally, the High Ed Web Accessibility Summit will be on the 25th, and that will be virtual. Going to this month's theme, we are looking at stories around population health and anything with the hashtag population health. So if you have stories that fit this theme, feel free to reach out to Jeff or myself. We will love to consider those for a tile box on the homepage. Be sure to tag all of UW's main accounts. If you are putting anything out on social, we would love to see that and help amplify that. A few strategic considerations for you this month. We have 3 Heritage Months this month. Also, for those of you who may have been following this, the first was the deadline to accept for Seattle. And that was also the priority date to confirm for Bothell and Tacoma. So I know a lot of your units are doing a lot to celebrate our new incoming Huskies, and that is fantastic. We're really happy for them. And then, of course, just yesterday was the 7th anniversary launch of the Population Health Initiative, and that's why May is Population Health Month. So again, feel free to send us those stories that you have, and we would love to help amplify those. As always, and of course included in the slide deck that'll be up on the website momentarily, these are our planning resources and the notes that we use for our planning resources. And so with that, I'll let you know that our next meeting will be on June 1st at 9 a.m. on Zoom. We're looking forward to seeing you then. And I will say thank you and stop sharing and turn things back over to Jeff.
Thank you, Tom. Looks like some great opportunities in the months ahead. I was particularly interested in that picnic. That sounds like a really cool get together. So, okay, well, next up, we've got Jackson and Kiyomi from the UW News office, and they're going to be talking about a site that we, our team collaborated in building for them, and talking about the stories that are featured on the site that showcase the work that UW does around the state. And so I will turn it over to Jackson and Kiyomi.
Hi, good morning. It's really nice to see you guys. You guys have got a great opening there. I love all that stuff, Tom. Thanks. I even took some notes there. Let me see here. I'll go ahead and let Jackson introduce himself and start sharing my screen with our PowerPoint.
Great. Well, good morning, everybody. It's really terrific to be able to join you. And thanks, Jeff and Tom, for your remarks at the outset. And by way of introduction, I'm Jackson Holtz. I'm the General Assignment PIO in the UW News office. And among other things that I cover, Kiyomi and I have been working with Photo and with Lauren and with others on your team to help put together for Washington. And really what we're trying to do with the site is showcase the work that the university does through and has impact on communities throughout the state, especially those outside of the central Puget Sound region. And, you know, part of the thinking here is to counter a narrative that some people say that the University of Washington only cares about Seattle, and obviously that's not true. And so this is a way to demonstrate to lawmakers and others around the state that indeed we have deep and meaningful relationships with communities all across the state of Washington, and that we are the University of Washington and the University for Washington. Anyway, I'll shut up, and Kiyomi, I think it's your turn.
The prior slide is kind of what the website looks like. When you scroll down, you'll see some stories there. But yeah, just what this is a brief introduction about UW News in case you don't know what we do. We're kind of the media relations hub for the university. And so it was kind of like a natural progression for us to, we tell stories about the university anyway, but to take it a step further and to really target those places kind of outside the Puget Sound area where we have impact. So this slide is kind of looking at my desktop and some of the platforms that we publish to. Go ahead, Jackson. We kind of
Sure.
talked about this.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about this, but basically, you know, what we wanted to do as a way to showcase the work in these smaller communities, or really all the communities outside of the Puget Sound area, and even some within the Puget Sound area. Our goal is twofold. One is to tell a meaningful story through what I write and Kiyomi does, but also to see if we can engage hyper-local media to tell the story as well. You know, it's one of these things where a story in the Yakima newspaper, although that the reach of the newspaper isn't that big, the kind of credibility that we get by placing those kind of stories in those hyper local outlets is extremely valuable as it reflects on the university and what we're doing.
Yeah, and one of the things that make this project a little bit different for us is that a lot of times, you know, we're featuring UW experts, UW events, very sort of UW centric. A lot of these stories are kind of focused on individuals in the community, kind of to give others an idea of a way to tell the story and to reinforce that it is kind of seated in their community. I actually queued up a video. It's fairly short. I'm going to try and play it to see if I can give you guys a little flavor of like one of the projects that we worked on out in the Yakima Valley, the Tri-Cities area, sort of promoting education around growing leaders in the agricultural industry. Let's see if I can get this to play. Here we go.
So good for you guys being brave, coming to the accounting section.
So this is the Yakima Business Certificate Program, and the goal of this program is to expand the business skills of employees in the agricultural industries and improve their job performance.
My name is Jeff Dietz. I've been working in Douglas Fruit. It's been a long time that I've actually been in a classroom setting. I'm a distribution manager. I run all the packed fruit inventory, the shipping department. The program is very hands-on. As an overall business certificate, it really kind of helped me with my department in budgeting. Yeah.
We really worked with a lot of local corporate and civic leaders to really educate us on, you know, here's what the real need is in this area. This area is really dominated by the agricultural industry. The challenge was, can you develop a program that helps us build our workforce from within the community? And what we came out with was a 6-week program that really focused on helping mid-level managers really improve their managerial capabilities within an organization.
The class is free. works with my schedule, and I wanted to learn more about, just different topics in business.
We had more than 250 participants who completed and graduated from this program, so we are here just to celebrate this achievement for them.
Like many people, I really wanted to get ahead in my job, but I was too busy, working and taking care of my family. I was gonna go to college and do this normal thing everybody does, and life hit. I had a girlfriend, we had a child, and got married, did all that, and I ended up picking fruit like everybody else. Luckily, I had some really good bosses and said, this foster school business is coming to town. Give you whatever time you need to make it happen. It just made me feel like I had the tools to actually get into the management role, right? I wasn't going in blind anymore. It makes me feel great, even saying it out loud. I don't think I've ever said it out loud. I've got to travel the whole world for this company. I feel grateful that this program was out there for me because it really changed my life. And I think it did a lot of that from the people that report to me as well, right? Because we all moved up.
Okay. It will not let me advance. Okay, there we go. Jackson, you want to talk about how this started?
Yeah, sure. So it's actually really fun to watch this particular story. Kiyomi and I went and Dennis Wise from Photo, the three of us went out to Tri-Cities in the fall of 2019. And our plan was to publish this in the spring of 2020. And we all know that other events took place. And we decided, we thought really hard about how we were going to bring this project back to life after the pandemic. Being aware that the focus of the stories, by and large, haven't been on the clinical and medical response. And so we decided we really wanted to be thoughtful about timing this in a way that didn't, by any means step on the great work that happened in UW Medicine during the pandemic and all the other health sciences and other schools that brought COVID response, as a first and foremost thing. We thought about trying to make it the feature story as we return COVID centric, and it didn't work out. So we ended up going with the suite of stories that we did have. And so we launched in October of just last year, October, with 6 completed stories. And we've since published, 2 or 3 more. And we have we'll talk a little bit about this later, but we're developing a calendar of stories that now takes us into 2024 and kind of working on a cadence of maybe 4 to 6 of these a year.
Yeah, some of the things that we were thinking about when we were choosing these stories is obviously being able to show some kind of an impact and some people who were able to demonstrate that, but also to show places all over Washington State. We kind of tend to be a little bit Seattle, Puget Sound centric. Also just being culturally sensitive when we're working to areas outside of our little blue bubble here. And putting this together, it involved using a new CMS. The site that we're working with is kind of a new thing. I am lucky in that I am not having to learn how to use it, but I know that it was a little bit of a learning curve to interact with this beautiful new website that I think you guys had set up for us. This is just a slide that has a couple of pictures from us working out in the field. We've done a story in Westport, kind of working on a story that's set in Washington and on the peninsula, a story in the Methow Valley, among others. It's been really fun working with Jackson in real life. I know there was some interest in like breaking down how we'd separate out a story. These are kind of the criteria for me in telling a video story. And we kind of needed to have both video and text be something that would be fulfilling for people to read. These are the things that make it for me. Being able to show a person who's impacted. So, I mean, with the story about, agricultural leaders, we needed to be able to have a couple of people who could say, this really has affected my life. Looking at the challenge that they're facing. Luckily, we had somebody who was able to tell us about that story about just life getting in the way and being able to show the way that the UW is able to help. So being able to have that in-person class was really helpful.
So on the writing side of things, it's really a fun opportunity for me to tell these stories. More frequently, the stories that we write and produce for UW News are pretty tight. We get to stretch our legs a little bit more and tell more of a medium length feature story. And what I'm able to do with the words is to get into some of the more technical components of what the video tells in a much more emotional and visual way. I can get into some details in a paragraph or two that would be hard to fit into the video. I come from a newspaper background, so I apply that same kind of neutral lens and incorporate many voices to give them the authority to tell the story. I've made up a rule with myself that I don't watch Kiyomi's video until I'm done with a draft of my story. So just so that we kind of see how our stories both evolve naturally, and then obviously make sure that we're not working at odds. But what's been nice about our work so far is that the written story has been a really nice complement to the visual story, and I think that continues to be the case.
Yeah, I will say that the videos tend to be more focused on something you might be able to see. And then fortunately, I have Jackson who's able to usually kind of get more of the breadth of things. So, I mean, say if it's a college access program, I might not be able to go to every single summer camp they have for the high schoolers they're trying to bring in. So I might just pick one. It might be like the STEM camp or the art camp or something, but Jackson might be able to kind of talk about the bigger picture of the program, give some stats, things that are not interesting to be able to see in a video. Somebody sitting there going, we served 720 kids. It's, more fun to see them. So it's been really fun to see the ways that the visuals can complement the text. And speaking of, we actually have really enjoyed having some beautiful photos and being able to bring YouPhoto into this. They've been able to see things in a different way. Some of the stories that I do, I'll use screen grabs from my videos as the sort of supplementary stills to be able to populate our pictures, but it's been nice to have like real photos and really appreciate their collaboration. One more thing that I'll add is because we're trying to kind of get media involved, it's been really fun when we've been out to watch as we're doing the sort of reporting, so to speak. Jackson is coordinating with media makers on the ground there. And if we're covering an event, like say the graduation of people from this agricultural leaders program, this business program, he'll be emailing reporters like, okay, this is happening tomorrow at 9 a.m. and trying to see if we can also get some media coverage for those events at the same time. So this slide is just kind of an example of some of the media coverage that we've been able to kind of get in tandem while we've been working on the stories. A lot of times they get their story published before ours comes out. We kind of like to give them a little lead time sometimes so they can feel like they own the story themselves, which is kind of the point in the end anyway. So the story on maple syrup that was covered by Fox, Q13, and some like print outlets as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I wasn't sure, Cam, if this was your slide or my slide, so I'll just jump in. We in UW News has several different levers that we can pull to self-publish. That includes the UW Today e-newsletter that goes to about 70,000 people within the UW community, including many reporters are on that list. We publish to our own website, and our digital content producer, has a whole social media plan to use our social sites, and to work with the social media team at the central accounts to promote these stories far and wide. And here are some examples of that. And then we are, for the first time, exploring using paid per post. And this is somebody else completely, on UMAC, who's working to see what would engagement look on these stories if they put a little bit of advertising weight behind it. So we're excited to experiment in that way, and we'll see what the outcome is. This is, I mentioned this a little bit at the opening. What we're hoping to do, we have the stories now scheduled through the beginning of next year, but we're hoping and sharing this with you that when you hear of ways that your units or people that you're working with are having an impact around the state, to let us know, and to see if that's something that we can pursue and add to our story list.
Yeah, this is just a slide to thank all of the people who worked on this. Obviously, it wasn't just me and Jackson. There were other people within our unit, but also a lot of people from the web team, and from the social team, and the guys from UPhoto as well. So thanks for helping us make that website look just awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that one of the really exciting things for me about this project is the website that looks just so beautiful, and being able to promote Kiyomi's video and Dennis and Mark's photos, and just make it look like a magazine style feature site, has been really terrific. So thanks to all of you that put time and effort into making it a really terrific site.
Yeah, so I don't know if there are any questions. I was actually going to try and share the website as my share screen, but I think I'll just put it in the chat in case anybody's curious, because we would always love feedback on trying to make it better.
Do you have questions from the audience? Jackson, I know we talked about this in chat last week, but I'm always interested when there's video and text and how you balance that out and kind of tell different aspects of the story. And I know you got into that a little bit. Does it vary per story as far as what kind of leads as far as the video versus the copy, and how do you approach that, and how do you kind of balance that between, Kiyomi, it takes really great video, and you have a great narrative, but how does that work on your team?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question, and Kiyomi mentioned this, and I think a really good example is the Gear Up story that we did, which is about OMAD's college access programs. And OMAD had come to us and said, hey, we have the summer camp where we bring high school students to campus to try to give them a taste of what being on college campus is like, and try to help them envision their, fulfilling their dream of going on to getting a 4-year degree. So Kiyomi's video focused on that camp that occurred over a week. OMAD has I think there are 6 college access programs that each are a little different and are statewide. So while Kiyomi's story just told the Gear Up, the 1 week on campus, I zoomed out and was able to use that as color to then, in the meat of my story, talk about, hey, this is one example of what OMAD does with these 6 programs. Other stories are going to vary. Kiyomi and I are working now on a story out of the College of Education about inclusionary classrooms. It used to be that special ed was a classroom down the hall, and what the College of Education has found is that actually integrating special ed into the other classrooms, integrating all those students together and bringing those resources, instead of trying to separate them, combining resources, that's really effective for everybody. And Kiyomi did some reporting out in the central part of the state. I'm blanking on the name now, the town.
Toppenish.
Toppenish. And then Kiyomi and I both went to Bellingham and spent a day in Bellingham at a high school there. So, I think that story is going to be, Kiyomi is going to show a few things that are different than what my words are going to tell. But, like I said, it sort of, the way that I've gone about it is that I haven't watched Kiyomi's video draft, and that's allowed me to kind of just create the feature story on my own in my own head, and so they're not complete parallel stories, even though we've done oftentimes we've done reporting side by side.
Looks like we have a hand raised in the chat. Lauren, do you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is awesome. I actually come here a lot to look at the videos and stories that y'all put together because I think they're awesome and beautiful. And Kiyomi, I always love seeing the video storytelling that you do. It's really great. I'll just mention one thing about this site for anybody who's curious. All the stories are built with storytelling modules that has been customized. So if anybody's curious, this is the type of, off the beaten path, like fresh take that you can give to, our out of the box tools with a little custom dev. And I'm always impressed by what Jackson and everybody else in UW News, how they've laid out the stories, because they look unique and great with a lot of the visuals that are put on there.
Yeah, and we should, first of all, thanks, Lauren, and kudos really go to Michelle Ma, who is the behind the scenes editor on this project, and she's also the one that has been helping to put the stories into the modules and hitting publish on them. So.
And having that front page, I know you worked a lot on that sort of main page, Lauren. I feel like your name came up all the time, but I'm feeling like it's going to be really important to have that looking as nice as it does and have the functionalities that it does. Because I think that what we're hoping is, like, down the line, once we have a number of stories there, for it to kind of be like a holding place and a resource for reporters. We can share out the web link to give them some ideas about some of the things that the UW has been involved in the past that are reportable. And I know that there are, ways to navigate that site to be able to show the ways that reporters have used the information in the past to, like, do stories. I think there's, like, links to, like I was showing you, reports done by media outlets. So anyway, thanks for making that work. That's been really fun to see come together.
Yeah, kudos on all the work you do to get the local media interested in these different stories, because I think that just adds that just foundational layer of sort of put, it's one thing to tell your own story. It's another thing when someone else tells the story of what's going on in their community, and I think it's really powerful. Okay, does any other questions in the chat?
I have one quickly. If someone has an idea for a story that might work here, what is the best way to go about raising that?
Yeah, they can email Kiyomi or me, or just UW News at uw.edu. But Kiyomi and I are open to hearing from you and would love that. We've had conversations now with several units, just kind of exploratory conversations. We think that like we're talking with DEOHS, which don't ask me to, that's public health, occupational health. And they do some consulting work with businesses around the state to go in and test for environmental safety stuff. And so, that's one story that we're trying to connect with a business that would be willing to allow us to come in and observe this. Thanks, Veronica. I can never remember all those things. But anyway, that's an example of like, they came to us and said, hey, we have this idea, and we're now talking about scheduling it sometime in early next year. So it's not like a quick turnaround kind of thing, but those are the kind of ideas that get us excited. So we only know about them if people come and tell us about them. So yeah.
Yeah, just a side note on that story, there's something to do with dry ice. And that's what got me immediately. Any story that may involve dry ice, please let me know. I think it was to like show how air moves through a space. But yeah, when there's something that you think, oh, that would be cool to see, that's the little, flag that says, go ahead and email Kiyomi and just, see if that might be a cool idea. So
and I guess the other thing that, given what this community does, that if you guys see websites out there from other universities or other news outlets that you think, oh my gosh, this is really would work great for Washington, please let us know those too. This whole idea came from a case conference that Victor Balta was at, and he saw Michigan doing something similar to this. And so we've just, borrowed that idea, made it University of Washington. And if, it works for us, we can only make it better, we think, and would love your input.
So Kiyomi, what are they doing with dry ice? Now you've got me curious.
I think he was saying that they use it to look at the way the air moves in a space, because part of the occupational health was like looking at ventilation. But yeah, if it goes ahead, you'll find out.
Yeah, I'm always forever amazed by the different things that go on at the university. So it's fascinating. So. Okay, does anybody else have questions, or what's the next story coming up? I'm curious. Or do we know yet? Is there one on the schedule to come out soon?
Yeah, it's that inclusionary practices story, which is just, it's such a great story, and the kids that we've talked to and the educators that we've talked to, it's a whole new way of thinking about K-12 education. And I'm really excited about it, because I think it's just, the UW is kind of the glue that holds many of these schools together. And what the UW role is to take the best case scenarios and share those with other schools, so that more schools can pick up these practices. It only serves our students and their families. It's great.
Yeah, they're kind of like pollinators for good information about inclusive learning. One of the principals actually referred to separating people out as segregation, which was like a big concept for me. So I hope that we're going to be able to do it justice that way.
Well, that's great. It's wonderful to hear all the positive things we're doing in communities around the state. Well, Jackson and Kiyomi, thank you for joining us and giving us a tour of the project. And all those in the audience, if you have stories, reach out to Jackson and Kiyomi. It's an opportunity to tell some really powerful stories and get them out in the community and raise awareness of all the great work we do across the state. So, okay, well, I think we're going to wrap up a little bit early if there are no other questions. Thank you all for joining us on this beautiful May day. Hopefully it stays beautiful. We will see you in June for the last Web Council of the academic year, and hope you all have a nice May as we gear up to get ready for graduation next month. So take care, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.